Most High is showing you in different times in our history how he brought nations against us and he fortified us at times. But in this particular time here, because us burning incense to idols as we always did, always on the negative side of the Most High, he said he's going to bring somebody from the north. Who's from the north of Israel? The Babylonians. Nebuchadnezzar and his boys. And his consorts, the people that he had under his rulership. Because remember, when the king has a kingdom, his kingdom ventures out into providences. So that means so that you don't get destroyed yourself, they have loyalty to them. So that's what all these thrones were set around Jerusalem, couldn't do nothing. We were encompassed because of our wickedness and our disobedience. But he said in the end, I am the Most High, I will deliver you. So we're going into that time right now. We're walking fenced cities around us, and believe it or not, when Esau is in your neighborhood walking up and down, even though he's smiling at you with his little puppies, and you are under siege. You are under siege. Every time you see a so-called white person in your neighborhood, you are under siege, getting ready to get pushed out, getting ready to be talked about, and getting ready to be taken over. Because that's their job. They're just doing what the Most High programmed them to do from the womb. Same difference. We were programmed for righteousness, they were programmed for wickedness. And a lot of our people don't see that. But with that, I'm going to say shalom. We're going to go into our class, which kind of like pertain to these 49 verses. I'm going to start with, whose empire is it anyway? Whose empire?
Esau.
And anywhere, it's still Esau. So we're going to start with Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. I hope you all did get something out of that. That's why if you stay chapter instead of bouncing around, if you stay in a particular chapter, in a particular idea of those chapters, usually you'll get more than just reading a chapter here, a chapter there, you know, precept after precept. Sometimes it's good to read the whole chapter to know what it really means. When you get it, read it.
1 and 26.
Yeah, Genesis.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 26.
Excuse me?
All Esau are whites or all white people? So
All of them are. I mean, unless they have a Israelite parent, but we'll get into that afterwards. Because remember, a lot of our people are very light skinned. A lot of our people can pass for being white. A lot of their people can pass for being Israelites. Because if you talk the complexion.
okay, no, not complexion, because we have to get to the truth. So my question is to find out how do you discern who is Israel as opposed to who is Esau.
Well, by the
You have
Spirit.
a black person and their heart is totally evil. So I need.
All right, we'll talk about that after the class, okay? Because we're trying to stay with the lesson plan. Because everybody, even the scriptures 2 and 9, Revelation 2 and 9 said all that say they are Jews are not. That goes for our people that's not keeping law, statutes, and commandments as well. But also goes for other nations of people that may look like us, but because of their parenting, their lineage, they're not us. Read what you got.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 26. And the Most High said, let us make man in our image after our likeness.
Now we already know that the image of the Most High is the image of a black man. So everybody that was on this earth first was made in the image and also his imagination. Don't just say image, because we were all made in the imagination of the Most High. He had to imagine us before he put the blueprints together. That's what it means by image. The thought process. Don't just say we were made in his image, because we're not made in his image because we're all wicked as hell. But we were made in his imagination. And his imagination was the imagination of a brown, earth-looking person. Read it again.
And the Most High said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Okay, now the most important thing about that is he said over the earth. He didn't say nothing about going to heaven. He didn't say nothing about we're going to get a rapture, we're going to go up, we're going to go to heaven. He never even brought heaven into the equation as far as outside of the earth. He said dominion. Underline that word, dominion over the earth. You drop that, go to Genesis, stay in the same book, Genesis chapter 2 and verse 15. Everybody got that part? Man was only supposed to have dominion over the earth. And the most important part, one man, not the whole world, not X amount of leaders, like how they have it now. Countries and counties and cities and states, all of those have leaders. No, man, one man is supposed to have dominion over the whole earth. That's it. And that's how it's going to be in the kingdom of God, which is not in heaven, but like heaven, as it is. It's prayers, right? It says that. Read what you got, brother.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 15. And the Most High Power took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
Okay, now see, he put, right here it said he took man. We already know, we all know that's Adam. But we also know that people were here before Adam. Con? Con, I didn't hear it. Where's the spirit? Con? Right, there were people here before Adam and Eve. There were people here. And he took Adam out of those people and made Adam his man. This is the one that's going to start my royal family, which ended up being the Israelites. We understand that, Con? Because it's no getting around it that there were people here before Adam and Eve. The Most High just separated Adam and separated Eve to be his royal family line. And in the royal family line, you know you're gonna have a bastard, and that bastard ended up being Cain, the firstborn. But it's still, Cain still represents the spirit of Esau today. So the two brothers are still working, Cain and Abel, still working in the earth through the spirit of the Most High. Because Jacob ended up, through Seth, ended up being the royal line. Jacob is the royal line. Esau is the wicked line, but going back to Cain. It's not, rocket science. Because the Most High stays and deals with the same spirits. Esau has the spirit of Cain. Jacob has the spirit of Seth and Abel. That's the royal family line. Okay, you ready? You finished that, right? Let's go to Genesis 10, and you read from 8 to 10. Everybody with me so far? Makes sense? Come.
Any questions we asked?
Huh? Not right now, so we want to keep the flow. It's good. No, believe me, it's good to have questions, but we can hold it until after the class, or write it down because we're trying to get through the service. But I do appreciate your questions. Go ahead.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 10 and verse 8. And Cush begat Nimrod.
Okay.
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Okay, Nimrod is a very important fixture in the history, because Nimrod came from Cush, and Cush came from Ham. Ham represents the real so-called African people, the ones that say my brother, but don't love you at all. Because if they loved you and respected you, they would bow down to you because they know you are the children of God.
That's right.
The Most High God. But so how in the world could a servant or a slave be your brother? They hate us. But then again, stand in line. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, like Zephaniah said, everybody hates us, and we are non-desired to everybody. Read that again from the top.
This is Genesis chapter 10 and verse 8. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
He began to be strong. After the flood, Nimrod began to be mighty, strong. He was a ruler. And in other stories, they said one of the reasons why animals bowed down to him and he had dominion over the animals, because this coat that the Most High made for Adam, Ham stole this coat and he gave it to Nimrod. So now animals bow down to Nimrod. Nimrod has no fear. He became to be a mighty hunter. And the hunter part is he would kill people like they do trying to do to us now, to bow down to him. If you didn't want to go with his program, in his program, Nimrod and his mother/wife is the father and mother of all organized religion. In any new religion that would come out, it still would have to do with Nimrod and his mother. His mother's name was Semiramis. He killed his father Cush and married his mother. And that's where you get the Oedipus theory from, a son's love for their mother. But it's called the Babylonian mystery system. If you look that up, all of these, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, different names back then. Remember little Cupid with the arrow? Nimrod became a mighty hunter. There's no such thing as baby angels running around, naked baby white angels running around with bow and arrows. They just use that as other god worship. Esau went and took the whole Babylon mystery system and whitewashed history with it. He made Zeus. He made Apollo. But all of these are gods that came out of Nimrod's Babylonian mystery system. This is how he became a mighty hunter. So the empire belonged to Nimrod first, after the flood. And it was wicked. And it was evil. You read to 10. Read verse 9.
Verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Most High. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before the Most High. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
The beginning of his kingdom was what?
The beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
Babel means nobility, and Babel means confusion. First word for Babylon is nobility, noble. And then it means confusion. When you babbling along, then you know you get the word a babbling brook. Or if you're babbling on, you're not making any sense. But it was called Babel. And Nimrod was a real serious first Antichrist on the other side of the flood. He learned the wickedness that Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth knew. On the other side of the flood, Ham taught Cush this wickedness. Cush taught Nimrod. And guess what? The Most High paid Cush back by letting his own son kill him. The Most High don't play. Okay, drop that. You go to Genesis 11 and 1. Because we're moving right along, trying to move right along to show you whose empire this is and why, because of our disobedience, we have to deal with other nations destroying us, prostituting us, and making us bow down to their gods. Because remember, Esau and Jacob were the last two children born in the world. So everything was going on in the world before we were born. So it's just that the Most High didn't want us to gravitate to that. Read.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech.
And that speech today we already know was Hebrew. Everybody spoke Hebrew in those days before Nimrod. But Nimrod became mighty, and Nimrod was trying to deal with supernatural forces. If you look outside on Park Place, Worth Street, the World Trade Center is a supernatural building. This is part of the Tower of Babel, the Chicago building. All of these real big skyscrapers that landmarks in every city are that Tower of Babel, Tower of Confusion, trying to cause supernatural contact with the angels in the sky. Read what you got. We're going to go to 14.
And verse 2. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower.
World Trade Center, Tower of Babylon, Chicago Sears building, read. To bring it up to date.
Whose top may reach unto heaven.
Who's what?
Whose top may reach unto heaven.
But I thought man was supposed to only rule on the earth. Subdue the earth and rule the earth. Right now, until the kingdom of God, the Most High, come by Shem HaMashiach Yahushua, we are not really supposed to be dealing with dwellings higher than 30 feet. 3 stories, basically, until the kingdom comes, because that's going to be God's glory, not glory of man. These big shiny pyramids, obelisks, all of these things were not supposed to go past 30 feet. So as you see, Nimrod started the rebellion on this side of the flood. It makes sense, and he got little secret societies, Masons. It wasn't called Masons back then. Got little secret societies, Roman Catholic, Christianity. All these things was practiced back in Nimrod's time. It's just that they had different names to them. Different names. Read. Read full.
Verse 4, and they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name.
They want to make a name. They didn't say, and let us glory and worship the Most High. What did they say? Underline that, so when you study, you see how wicked man was just coming off the boat, if you understand what I'm saying. Not more than 200 years off the boat, man talked about, let's get us a name. Forget about the Most High, Allahayanawa. Let's make us a name. Read.
And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
So see, they prophesied what was going to happen before they knew what was going to happen, if you understand what I'm saying. Before we get scattered around. So read.
Verse 5. And the Most High came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded.
And didn't the Most High come down in Revelation 18 and see this city, this Sodom, Egypt spiritually? Didn't the Most High see the place we living at now? He's seen this because he said the wickedness have reached up to the heavens. So let's go back 5,000, 6,000 years ago, which might be like 4,000 BC, around that time when Nimrod war. Read again.
Verse 5. And the Most High came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Most High said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language.
So isn't that true today? Think about it. We speak various languages that the Most High pushed them into, right? Spanish, Hebrew, Italian, German, all these are different languages, right? But today, we are on the one language right now. We are on one language. How? Social media. Social media, you could get an app, you could get a book, you could learn every language. You could speak into something and it'll translate. So now we are right where in this day, 2021, which they call it now, we are in this same position right now that the Most High did not want, but it still was going to happen for the greater glory of God. Continue.
And the Most High said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, for now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
So see, everybody all over the world know about this quote-unquote coronavirus. They know about the vaccine in every language. So we all speak one language. What language they speaking now? Vaccine. That's the language. Vaccine. You can't get around this. You can't make this stuff up. God is saying, the Most High is saying, if you don't stop these people, this is what's going to happen. So the Most High, because of our last indignation in 70 AD, the Most High just turned his back on everything to let everything come out. And everything is fruitioning now, and it's fruitioning now and multiplying in wickedness because of us. Don't blame Esau. Blame yourselves. Blame ourselves for what happened. For our disobedience is the reason the world is a muck and a wreck. Go ahead, continue.
Verse 7. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language.
So confounding the language, I mean let us go Babylon their language. Because the word is Babel, or Babal in the Hebrew. So the Most High said, we're going to do this. So, you know, I mean, it ain't a big thing. We got our Northern Kingdom people speaking Spanish. They think they're better than Judah. They think they're better than Benjamin. They think they're better than Levi because they speaking their slave master's tongue. Think about that. You know for a fact, Northern Kingdom, Ephraimite, or whoever they are, they look down on us because they know another language. They know Spanish, so they think they the man. That's preposterous. The Most High messed you up. That's why you speak like that. Read.
So they, verse 8,
Yeah.
so the Most High scattered them abroad from thence.
What did they say? What did they say? They said, let us come together with one language before the Most High scatter us. So they already knew the outcome, and they were going to try to make a name for themselves. The Most High said, we got to go down there and straighten this thing out a little bit. Now read verse 8 again.
Verse 8, so the Most High scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
So the Most High waited till they put all that basic hard work in, and then they put all that hard work in building this city to try to catch angels, because this is what it was, trying to catch the angels' vibration in the space, right, in the heavens, in the atmosphere. The Most High let them all. They was almost close. Pushed the button. The Most High said, "No, I'm going to let this guy speak German. This guy is going to speak Aramaic, and they pass me a brick." But if you tell a man to pass you a brick, and you saying their language you never heard of, they got frustrated at each other for building this temple, which we call the Tower of Babel. So they stepped off. I don't know what you talking about, man. What you talking about? And everybody that spoke the same thing, they just grouped up and they left. And the Most High wanted everybody to scatter his name across the world. Nimrod didn't want that. The Most High did it anyway. The Most High did it anyway. Continue.
Verse 9, therefore is the name of it called Babel.
Confusion. Read.
Because the Most High did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Most High scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
So this is how populations and cities rose up after the flood. Because everybody speaking the same language did go in concert and build up their particular towns wherever the Most High send them. Remember, we go nowhere without the authority and the cosigning of the Most High. We walk nowhere. We could make up our own minds, but the Most High the one that instructs our steps. So never think, oh, you did nothing on your own. Read.
Verse 10, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood.
2 years after the flood. Read.
And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters.
A lot of that time that Shem was alive in the earth, he was chasing down Nimrod. Because Nimrod was polluting the earth with idolatry. He was polluting the earth with abomination sex, abomination to pig, abomination religion. All Nimrod, this is what Nimrod did. He went from state, country to country back then. There was no states. And Nimrod had different names. Nimrod in Egypt is Osiris, if you didn't know that. That's who Nimrod was. When he was chased out of Shinar, his own place, people got tired of him. He fled. Then he settled into Egypt. And he was Osiris in Egypt. So all of these, they're still talking about Nimrod. That's why Nimrod is the father of all organized religion. He had 75 different names. Cupid, all the names you could think about. Zeus is Nimrod, but Zeus is Nimrod because the Greeks whitewashed Nimrod and called him Zeus. The Romans call him Jesus. All of these are the same names of Nimrod. Remember, Holy Mary, Mother of God. Now we know the Most High God doesn't have a mother, and we know Mary is not the mother of God. So who is Mary in this instance? Semiramis, who was Nimrod's mother. Holy Semiramis, mother of Nimrod, mother of Zeus, mother of Jesus. That's where we get all of this Jesus, Holy Mary part. You can look this stuff up. Continue.
This is verse 12. And Arphaxad lived 530 years and begat Salah. And Arphaxad lived after he begat Salah 403 years.
All of these are the forerunners. All of these are the forerunners to Abraham, and Abraham was royal. He said, Most High said, Abraham is my friend. So we come from the lineage of Abraham, of the Most High's friend. Isn't that beautiful? Read.
Verse 14. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber.
And Eber was the last person that spoke Hebrew. That's where Eber in Hebrew, that's where it comes from. Read. Okay, that's good. Okay, are we together? We still together? Nobody sleepy? I'm not trying to put nobody to sleep here. Read, go to Genesis 15 and 13. Because from Eber comes Abraham through that same line.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 15 and verse 13. And he said unto Abram.
Well, go up to 12 first. Go up to 12 first.
The book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 12. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him.
You know how black people get when we have nightmares. You know how we get when we have nightmares. So imagine your forefather Abraham, powerful man, strong man. He's just about to slay people, right? Remember, he's about to slay people to get his nephew back, Lot. So you know he wasn't no coward. So read it again from the top.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
So see, a lot of people get this mixed up with our stay in Egypt. But this is not our stay in Egypt. Our stay in Egypt was not all slavery, and it was 400 like in 30 years. But it wasn't all slavery. The slavery part was like Ben said all the time, was only really 80 years of hard bondage. So knowing this, and he told Abraham this before even his son Isaiah was born. Isaac. Before Isaac was born, he told Abraham this. So we weren't even on the scene, and we were already going into slavery, if you understand what I'm saying. So you continue on, go to Genesis 18 and 15. So this has to be the basically 1619 to the 2019 prophecy. But slavery actually started in the late 1400s. But it was only recorded, documented from 1619. And even Donald Trump talked about it last year, that the slaves in America were slaves for 400 years. Our slavery is over. That's why we witnessing a lot of calamities now. And what's the name of the island? In the Canary Islands. Canary Islands had molten lava burning up over 600 homes over there. Volcanoes, ash, the flood of fire in the Canary Islands is wiping them out. Floods. Australia was on fire last month. All of these are Edomite territories, if you understand what I'm saying. What it said, did you read the end of 13, or did I stop you?
No, you stopped it.
Read.
I'm not going to go back.
Yeah, read the end of it, because it said they will be judged.
This is Genesis chapter 15, verse 14. And also that nation whom they shall serve.
We're talking about Esau. Esau is in Australia. Esau is in Spain. Esau is in Germany. Greece was on fire. All of these are Edomite nation territories. And they're on fire. The Most High, read it, let's go.
Salah. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge,
He's judging them now.
and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
Remember Pharaoh in Egypt? Pharaoh bugging? Just get them out of here. Just get them. Take this. Go. They're going to be, go. They're going to tell you to go. It's going to be that time. It's going to be, and right now we are in the presence of witnessing Jacob's trouble as they're being judged. So the same thing, when the destruction comes, you're going to be delivered at the same time. It's going to be simultaneous. Like right now, it's going to be a simultaneous thing. It's like you look at the movies. I always like to bring movies because they get the movies out of the Bible anyway. They get the idea of movies out of the Bible. So when we've seen Sarah Connor hanging on to that fence, getting ready to get burned, you may see the fire coming. You may say, oh, boop, and you're gone. That's how it's going to be. And the Most High said he got to do it soon, because if he don't come soon, there may be no flesh to save. They got a new pill out. It's a red pill. That pill's supposed to stop you from, or that's another vaccination. For people that say, okay, I don't got to take that, I'm going to take this. But Esau's not dumb. You let them take that too. Come on, think about it. If it's good, why wear a mask? If you wear a mask, why get inoculation? And if it's really good, why you need a booster shot? I'm just saying.
Salakia. Plus that inoculation, it doesn't prevent you from catching it or getting symptoms or transmitting it.
Say it again.
It doesn't prevent you from transmitting it nor getting it.
Jesse Jackson had the vaccine, so he said, and he still caught coronavirus. People are dying after the virus, and they're not necessarily dying because of the virus, but they're dying because the Most High said, okay, I want you in my office in the morning.
Furthermore, too, they said that the only thing it really does is it decreases your likelihood of dying from it. But if you've had it before, your antibodies in your body does the same thing. So it's like,
right.
It's really
antibodies are miraculous coming from God. We got reports that what it does is it knocks down your T cells. Your T cells helps your immune system. It knocks down your T cells. It's killing the reproduction in females. It's making females and males sterile alike. There's reports on that. So they don't want you to be no more, and they don't want you to leave no tokens in the earth. Continue on that. You got the 18, 15 to 19. Come on.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 18, verse 15. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh.
Now, you know, this was the blessing coming, that she was going to be pregnant with Isaac. But Sarah was like 90 years old. She's like 90 years old. So that's why she laughed. It wasn't like a laugh whereas she's making fun of, yeah, right, I'm going to get pregnant. That's what it was. It wasn't like her laughing. It just was like, you know, instant. It was emotion. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be pregnant. I'm 90 years old. So go ahead.
Verse 16. And the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way.
So see, they had twofold mission. One of the missions was to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. The next was to tell Abraham he was going to be blessed with a son from his wife Sarah, who was barren up until she was 90 years old. So see, the Most High can always open your womb or always close it. That's why us as being Israel have to remember our only way out of this is through the Most High God. And he's telling us in this book. He's telling us in this book. And I was telling a sister just earlier, this book was only made for us. Matter of fact, I was telling my daughter, I said a sister, I was telling well, she is a sister, but I was telling my daughter, yeah, this book is our book. But when we've gone through captivity, if you was stripped and in chains, you don't have a book. You can't hold on to your book. Where you gonna put it at? So it was supposed to be up here, but we were those non-believers coming out of Africa, through slavery, running out of Israel, we turned our back on the Most High. Yeah, we might have built up Timbuktu, we might have built up Cameroon, Ghana, all these other Western African nations, but we didn't build it up with God. And we did not build it up with Yahushua. So we were destined to fall. Yeah, so what? Mansa Musa was the richest king in the world. He was an Israelite, but did he say he was Israel? No. Did he know that? Maybe. But he didn't practice that. A lot of our brothers and sisters, they know they're Israel, but you're not an Israelite until you come home to your nationality. You can know, oh yeah, shalom out in the street. You got people that say shalom to us. They know they know we Israel, but are they Israel? No, because they're not practicing what we practiced when we was in the righteousness. Read it.
That's verse 17.
Yeah.
And the Most High said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do?
So he said, am I going to make it a secret? Or all of a sudden, am I going to tell, all of a sudden Sarah's pregnant? But no, see, when we did it, the Most High let you know when things was going to happen. He's still doing that today, but our people not listening. That's why we are the watchmen to tell you. We are those watchmen for those brothers that got to walk around with their eyes closed, because the Most High said, I close your eyes. I did that. I did it to your prophets, Martin Luther King. I did it to Malcolm X. I did it to all your preachers. Well, Martin Luther King's father was a commandment keeper, so he closed Martin Luther King's eyes. Malcolm X's father was a commandment keeper, so he closed Malcolm X's eyes, but he opened it later on towards the end. So see, the Most High said, I'm not letting one sin, the least sin, go unpunished. So whatever you do is always ready to jump on it and repent, because we never know when our last breath is going to happen. We never know how it's going to happen. Because remember, it said, though your sins was as crimson, I will make them as white as snow. Remember, every sin we do, when we ask for repentance, we put a Band-Aid over it. But when we sin again, we tear the Band-Aid off, and then all the sins we ever did come back up to the top. But that's what he means by the multitude. Everything we did in our generations. Read.
Verse 18. Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation.
That's what all the nations. Isn't Elam a mighty nation? Isn't Japheth, even though Japheth is taken over by white folks now, aren't they a mighty nation? Japheth, even though they're Euro-Japheth now, China and Japan, they got the most people in the world.
That's right.
That's still Esau, but it's a mighty nation though. They got missiles and tanks. Elam, they got missiles and tanks. Korea, missiles and tanks and bombs. He made them a great nation. And forget about it, they are all tribally connected to Esau. The Koreans are Esau, if you didn't know that, north and south. The Japanese, Chinese, those are Edomites, if you didn't know that. So the world is given into the hand of the wicked and covered the faces. They covered the faces of Samson, they covered the faces of Christ, they covered the faces of David, Solomon, they're covering the faces of the real judges. Esau is the one that does this. They have their own God, and all of them are Catholic. That's why all of them believe in the same religion, because they're the same people. Read.
Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Most High, to do justice and judgment, that the Most High may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken of him.
So see, he knew Abraham, and he said he knew his family was going to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Now the only one that did it was Isaiah. Was Isaac. Only one that did it was Isaac. Ishmael, he went on, he knew the law, statutes, and commandments. They became the Muslims. But they dealing with Islam, and Allah, believe it or not, is a rock, but it's based on a feminine God. It's not a male God, because there's all the gods in the world are based on feminine gods. Even Jesus, Zeus, and them, going back to Semiramis, teaching Nimrod wickedness, as well as his our father. All the gods of the world are idols. So we were picked, being chosen, we were picked by God to tell the world the right thing to do. But we wanted our own God following everybody else. Bringing a perfect example, like in 110 to 910 BC, go to 1 Samuel. But I put, you know, like put some years on these things, let you know where you at. So now coming up, all the nations in the world are great. Right now, Israel is small in the world. 110 to 910 BC, this is when we basically came out of slavery in Egypt. So now we're starting to build this small community, this small nation. Read.
1 Samuel.
1 Samuel, I'm sorry.
14.
1 Samuel, no, go to Genesis 17 and 15. 17 and 15 first.
This is Genesis chapter 17. Oh, but this we have already went in.
Yeah, we did. Also, drop that because I got it. I should have had that first before that. So go to 1 Samuel 14. It's a little history and also letting you know we got brothers on a small scale. This is my block. How can this be your block when you don't even have a job? How can this be your block when you pay taxes? How can this is your block only because you slinging drugs to your people? You making them slaves, so drugs is the new pharaoh in the community. Drugs is the new pharaoh and the new god in the community. And all of their subjects are in a stupor. Shooting, killing, stealing to continue to worship that drug called crack, that drug called opioids, heroin. All of these are the new gods of the neighborhood. And you got the new pharaoh pushing it out. Your cousin might be one of the overseas pharaohs pushing out poison, killing, drugging people in his own army. Because it is an army, and this is a war. We're in a war every day. Mentally, physically, therapeutically, we're at war. God's children encompassed by the enemy. Read.
It's the book of 1 Samuel chapter 14. I don't believe you call the verse. It's 1 Samuel 14,
47 to
verse
48.
47.
Yeah, my bad.
So Saul took his kingdom over Israel.
Okay, so before this, remember, we talking between 1010 to 910 BC. Now we going into, that's like only 100 years, but listen, we was complaining to God, well, we want our own God. No, we complaining to Samuel. We want our own God. But God was our God. We want our own king. But God was our king. So God wasn't mad at Samuel. He was angry at the people. How could you not know? Because otherwise, if you understand the Bible is a perfect love story. The Bible is a love story between the Most High, H.I.S, and Israel. It's a love story. And his horrible wife, Israelites, we ran amok to different lovers, right? We're married to God, but we ran to different lovers. The Most High said, okay, after all of this, let your lovers save you now. Go back to your lovers. That's what the Most High told us. He dismissed us for a minute. Read.
It's the book of 1 Samuel chapter 14 verse 47. So Saul took the kingdom over Israel and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab and against the children of Ammon.
Just to tell you, the Moab and Ammon are not the Chinese and Japanese. They're not they're the Palestinians and the Syrians. And they're there now. And they might be there now hidden because Esau got all of that now, right? Remember, Esau has rulership of the world. Every nation, he's the head of that nation. Every nation you see, except for the true Hamites that are in the United Nations with representation, Esau is everybody else. He's the Arabs. He's the Chinese. He's the Japanese. He's the Koreans. A lot of the Vietnamese. All of these, if you look at it, remember man was made in the imagination of the Most High. Everybody was brown. Anybody you see lighter or to a pale complexion, those are Edomites. Or some of them mixed in. But if you understand what the rulers are all Edomites. Read.
I wanted to say something
Sure.
along with that, with the Chinese and not being Moab, because if you read Genesis chapter 9, verse 27, it says, God shall enlarge Japheth.
Right.
So, you know, if Japheth is just the Micronesian, Melanesians, how come they're so small? The scriptures say that the Most High will enlarge Japheth. So that means and we know China got a 1 million man army.
That's right.
You know, who's
Think it's
bigger
more
than
than
that? You know, not the.
Right, no, you're right. But see, and then in another regard, God also talks about land masses too, as opposed to people that said Japheth, that land of China is the land of Japheth, and then Moab, that land of Moab is Moab now that they call is really Russia. So this Japheth is really the land mass is really China and Russia right now. So it also talks about, land masses, not necessarily people. But there's a lot of Chinese people. It's a lot of Japanese people. And all of them today are Euro, Japhet, or Edomites. The real people are dark-skinned people, and they are up in the Tibet area being pushed out. True Arabs or true Ishmaelites are in that land, but the Saudis are actually Ottoman Turk babies. They're really Greeks. The ones that own the oil there now, these are not indigenous people. They are Esau or Edomites. Read.
This is 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 47. So Saul took the kingdom over Israel and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the kings of Zobah, and against the Philistines, and whithersoever he turned himself, he vexed them. And he gathered a host and smote the Amalekites, and delivered Israel out of the hands of them that spoiled them.
Okay, so see, he fought all of these people. The Amalekites today are modern day Jews. According to Genesis 36 chapter, Esau had Eliphaz, and Eliphaz had Amalek through Timnah, who was a servant. Now you're not going to be a slave woman and bring forth a king. It's not going to happen. Has to be royalty. Timnah was a handmaid or a concubine. So Amalek came through there, even though Amalek is ruling the world right now. Amalek, the so-called Jews, are ruling the world. And the reason I brought this up, because whose empire is it anyway? This is the empire of Esau, Idumea, all over the world. And Saul is the reason Amalek, Esau, Edomites, Idumea is ruling the world. It's Saul's fault, because Saul did not obey God. When he went, Most High told Saul, or actually told Samuel to tell Saul, destroy all the Edomites. Destroy them all. Cattle. Don't bring nothing here. Don't bring nothing. Okay, let's go 2 Samuel 8, 13 to 14. This is building up to Esau's empire, but this empire belonged to who first? It belonged to Adam. Through Eve and Adam, death came to the world. His rulership was wrestled away. And who was it given to? The person that was upset at you. The person that was upset at Adam, because you are Adam, you're the royal lineage of Adam, so you are Adam. It was wrestled away and given to Satan. That's why this is Satan's community and kingdom right now. Read what you got. Read it when you got it.
This is the book of 2 Samuel chapter 8, verse 13. And David got him a name when he returned from smiting of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons. And all they of Edom became David's servants. And the Most
So you
High
see how
preserved
see how
David.
he took Esau down? And you know, Israel and Jordan, they border. They border each other. So David used to look off his terrace and see Esau in Basra and in Jordan. So he said that, because remember, the word taxes is just a modern day word for tribute. You pay tribute to who owns you or whose kingdom is in control. So that's why we pay taxes, and that's why we're supposed to. To give Caesar what's his. Read.
And the Most High preserved David whithersoever he went.
Okay, that was it, right? So see, this is afterwards, after the kingdom was taken from Saul. The kingdom was taken from Saul because Saul went against what God said. The Most High said, kill them all. So because of Saul, Esau, so-called white man, is a thorn in our side to this day. To this day. Now they even did the greatest identity theft in world recorded and unrecorded history by calling themselves you. He called himself chosen, people of God. Call themselves, but they are called Israelis. The word Israeli means modern day Jew. So who the throwback Jews? The Negroes, we the throwbacks. Israelites are the throwback Jews of the Bible. These are just fake frauds and phonies. Drop that, let's go 1 Kings 11 and 14. Oh, by the way, that particular Saul period, again, with David, was 970 to 931 BC. That's just in case if you want the numbers. Read it when you get it.
It's the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11 and verse 14. And the Most High stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad, the Edomite.
The who?
The Edomite.
The who?
The Edomite.
Okay, so see, Esau was a thorn in David's side, but David subdued them. David had Esau under control, paying tribute and everything for years. Go ahead. We're not going to go into what Saul did. I'm sure y'all know Saul started. Okay, let's first read 11 and 1. Let's read 11 and 1 first. 1 Kings 11 and 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women.
Go ahead. Other nations, read.
Together with the daughter of Pharaoh,
Egypt,
women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
Zidonians and Hittites, those are African Hamite people. The Most High did not want us to deal even in righteousness. They didn't want us to deal with the Canaanite women, if you understand. So then it also says these Egyptian women were not real. They were really Egyptian women from this Pharaoh, this time period. The Greeks hadn't rose up because Esau is in control, under control, if you understand what I'm saying. Esau is not busting out with no kingdoms. That we are not dealing with Esau now, as far as we didn't rebel like Saul rebelled. David hated him. David hated Esau. David said, "Don't I hate who you hate?" He asked the Most High that question. Read.
Of the nations concerning which the Most High said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods.
And that's what they did. Now Solomon, the only reason this is important, because Solomon prayed for wisdom. The Most High gave him everything else after that, but stipulations. In Deuteronomy, Moses told the children not to deal with the other women, and he gave not to deal with the other women or the other men, and he told you why, because they may turn my mind away and go after their gods. Don't we do Christmas? Don't we do Easter, Father's Day, Mother's Day? Don't we do every day Esau say we got it? We do? We do those things. Why? Because our women were taught, our men were taught through death. Our women were taught, they pulled our slaves apart, they burned our slaves, And we saw that. We didn't want that to happen to them. We didn't want that to happen to us. So many of us that weren't martyrs for this word, and martyrship and martyrdom is coming in this day and age. If we didn't die for this word, that means that we trimmed ourselves. Where you at, Mike? Why trimmeth thou? We trim ourselves to belong. Oh, okay, yeah, we know that it's the Sabbath, but I'm gonna do this. What about when the Sabbath was on Christmas? What did you do?